Laugh out loud, it's the place to be, where geeky minds meet so naturally. From pixel legends to blockbuster heart, dive right in, let's set this vibe apart.
Bloomin' News, both the video. You just start recording.
Yeah. It's okay, I can cut this.
All right. Well, then that kind of caught me off guard, so I'll just throw this at the beginning then. All right. So you guys ready to do this?
Well, you were talking about the blooming news, and we had a mix in mic ticks. Like, we're doing a lot of smaller mini episodes.
First up, I need somebody to laugh out loud because they are in the place to be.
Yes.
Exactly. So
No matter what side of the equator, welcome to the obnoxious haters.
yes, very good. Beavis and Butthead AI slop, and we are the obnoxious haters.
I am thinking about maybe making t-shirts where it would be all our negative comments with it'll be like they love us underneath it or
Dude, it would be great to have.
love the worldwide or something. I don't know yet.
I still want a BM Show AI slop shirt.
You know what? As long as it's never anything like super personal, like
Mhm.
I really don't give a shit about the negative comments. As long as you're not like, yeah, as long as you don't get like too personal with it. It's like at the end of the day, we're talking about movies and TV shows, and this is all nonsense.
Yeah.
We're all talking nonsense anyway. So it's like,
So I am sure, I don't know if you guys all saw, but it's been a little active today on the BM Show. We had a mix of mic ticks that went up earlier for Bravely Defaults, and the Bloomin' News is up as well too. So if you're looking for that, go check them out. They are available at this point.
yes, there's separate videos now, so that we can go and lean it up a little because we were doing 2-hour episodes, like over 2 hours. It was becoming like, yeah, too much.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I don't want to get too like political here, but just for the hit on the Bloomin' News, since I didn't mention this, as they're getting to, I believe they're gonna have a show in LA soon, and LA is crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad you said something, and I'm actually I had the TV on it before, and then I started watching other stuff, but I'm gonna go right back to it. That's crazy, absolutely crazy. This is gonna be all over the news tomorrow, and then we'll forget about it in a week.
Exactly.
It's about to the sun's about to go down there too, and once the sun goes down, if they don't have this thing in like all set up and put away, it's gonna become bad. But it looks like they got it pretty much taken care of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, wait, there's something going on under the bridge, and I can't see it. That's what's happening. Okay. There's a lot going on. This brings back memories of 2020
Mhm.
doing the show, and at that point, I had riots on the TV then too.
Back the really old like LA riots when we did our show way back in the day.
Yeah, this is it feels like a flashback in a way. I was thinking about that too. I'm like, we're about to go and start recording, and this is gonna be the second time that I'm watching an LA riot while I'm doing the show. Oh man, this is horrible. It's horrible. It's just
Let's get started here because we got a few things to talk about.
I know we got a packed show. So
Yeah, we got a surprise topic that we're going to discuss. After that, we're gonna do a review on This Is Spinal Tap, and then finally get into the main topic, which was bands with one legendary album and the rest of the stuff. Yeah, it's not really worth listening to, or not that great, or it sucks, or if you want to be obnoxious haters, it's complete garbage that we should wipe our butts with. But you take it how you want to take it. So
take it easy. Oh, sorry.
but let's get into the surprise topic. We're opening this up to Ben and Barrett, who I know Barrett has a lot of things to say. The Switch 2 has finally landed.
Yes, June 5th. June 5th was the magical day where all the people with the pre-orders who were not canceled were able to go and pick up their Switch 2 because they had less Switch 2s than they were anticipating. So people were literally getting their orders canceled. And then what they were doing is they were stapling the receipts to the boxes. Normally, and then you know what? I've worked in retail, I've worked for a game store. This is not uncommon. So I'm not really upset at the game people. They should have opened up one of these and seen where the screen was though before you started doing this. And they've ruined a bunch of screens. Oh, also, this thing goes for $500. You know what else you could buy for $500? You could buy a PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
Other than Mario and Zelda and the other Nintendo IP, every other game is not only on PlayStation 5, it's usually a lot better.
Well, you can
Wha
pretty much say that about everything nowadays. Everything's on everything now.
Yeah, yeah, like, other than the Nintendo IP and then, like, maybe a handful of other games that just wouldn't make sense on another system, like, maybe they need a touchscreen or something. There's no reason to buy a Switch 2. If the Switch 2 was $300, they'd have more of an argument. My whole argument with the Switch 2 is or the Switch in general, the Switch is a secondary system unless you are somebody who you make your money because your mom and dad give you an allowance every week, and every once in a while, grandma gives you a little extra money because you took the trash out. It's one of those systems. The Switch is supposed to be either the system you have next to your Xbox or your Xbox or PlayStation, or you have it because, like I said, you live on very limited income because you're a kid, and this is gonna be your first game console.
I'm going to correct you right now. You said that your Switch is next to your Xbox or PlayStation. I would like to also add Steam Deck, please, Ben.
Okay, whatever. The point was, like, it's open, whatever your main system is, and then you have a Switch next to it.
Yeah.
Switch is if you're unless you like, casual gamers might have, like, somebody who's super casual, like, literally, like, they don't play literally at all, there's, like, 1 or 2 games that they like, they might have a Switch as well for those 1 or 2 games, but all I see is the people who I normally see who have one are, like, my boss's kid has one, who he doesn't have a job, so like I said, that's the young person with a limited income who wants to have a game console, and then everybody else who has it, me, you, Mike, they're not our primary machine to play on. We just play the exclusive titles, like, you were playing one of the Mario games.
Yeah.
Last I heard, it's like I used it for The Legend of Zelda. I put 300 hours on it. Like, don't I'm not saying I don't use the Switch. When I do use the Switch, I use the Switch. I don't use it too often though.
Yeah, I mean,
And for $500 for a system that's underpowered compared to other systems at the same price point, other systems that are getting old, I might add,
mhm,
is ridiculous.
yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, it's actually 450. It's 500 if you want it with a game." Okay, 450. Still, for $50 more, you can get a PlayStation 5.
Here's the thing, it's 450, but what about tax? What happens when you add that in?
Well, you add it into the 500 for the PlayStation 5 as well. I'm not even gonna count that
Yeah,
because also tax is different in every state.
you just gotta be a little bit, obnoxious hater right there.
Oh, okay, you're gonna be one of those. Okay.
I'm gonna be one of those. No, you actually hit it right with the Switch. The Switch is good for a backup system, like, I'll put something on Steam Deck, like, say, a movie like Cruel Intentions or something, and then I'll grab the Switch because I can sit there and just play it really easy while I'm watching something I don't really wanna watch.
Yeah.
So, it works that way, but
It works really well for Cruel Intentions.
it does, but I'm not going to give up my Steam Deck over the Switch. I'll give up my Switch before over the Steam Deck for sure.
Oh, yeah, like, if I was told, like, you can only have one of your consoles, it's gonna be the Xbox Series X because I have the most amount of games on it, and it won't even be the Switch. The Switch might be the second one I'll save,
Mhm.
because I do like the Switch, don't get me wrong, but it's not at the same time, I don't like, it's not necessary if I was only able to have one,
Mhm.
It's like if you were told you only can have 2 T-shirts. There's actually some women who do this. They'll tell their husband, "You're allowed to have 2 T-shirts," and they gotta go throw out the rest of their T-shirts. Um, which would you pick? Same thing, like, you're only allowed to have 1 game console, you're only allowed to have 1 movie, like, well, here, if I had to choose, like, yeah, I would not pick the Switch is the point. This is the long way around, I'm sorry. But Barrett, You've been sitting quiet in the corner. What's your say?
Well, y'all pretty much said the main things I was gonna say, so I guess the main thing I'll add is just a little bit more about the hardware, which is that even in the handheld space, right? Like Mike also kind of alluded to this when talking about the Steam Deck. It it was bad enough when the original Switch came out. It was not a great value proposition. It was old hardware and way underpowered for what they're asking for, right? But now there's a zillion other things that are equivalent kind of devices, right? Like these portable gaming devices, but they're also like a lot of them are full computers. So, and they're for the same or less sometimes even. And so it's just like, what are they bringing? They're not bringing anything to the table. They're just hoping that people are going to just give them a pass and just buy it. And sadly, it seems like that's the case, right? I mean, it's people are going nuts over it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, the stores don't have enough.
That's
Which 'cause
Nintendo the whole time is getting a pass like that. Every single console has been, you get the pass because you're Nintendo, because you have Mario, you have Zelda, you have Metroid. You're
what's
not
what's the what's the rule with the Star Trek films? Only the even ones are good. So it's every other one. Nintendo runs the same thing. Every other Nintendo system is good, and then they forget why the other one was good, and they blow it. If you look at, what is it? Well, okay, first you had Nintendo and Super Nintendo. Okay, Brian, it breaks the pattern. But after
no,
the Super,
64 and GameCube back to back, and that puts that pattern back in place.
yeah, so they put the planet. So, but then you had, okay, let's start off with the Nintendo Wii. Wii was the amazing system. People couldn't. I mean, when I say amazing, I mean for sales. It was an amazing selling system. I couldn't like GameStop couldn't keep it in stock. I used to have an army of mothers coming in whenever we got a delivery looking to pick up the system for their kid. Honestly, this was true. I literally would have women who knew our delivery schedule and they would come in to buy one of these systems. And then they had the Wii U, and nobody knew what a Wii U was. They thought the Wii U was just an add-on for the Wii. And then the Switch came out, and here we are. The Switch has done gangbusters. It's technically, I think it might be the highest selling system maybe ever, or up there somewhere. I'm not really sure of the statistic, but it's doing well is the point. And now we have the Switch 2, which is the first time they've ever named a system anything 2 on Nintendo side. And they the game that should be free, the tech demo game that you have to pay $20 for. In order to get full use out of the tech demo game, you need to have a 4K TV, you need to have their camera, which costs, it doesn't come with it, that costs extra, and you need one of their pro controllers, which guess what? That costs extra. So also, they're having issues with emulation, and sure, they're releasing bugs, but you would think that, they would have gotten rid of most of the bugs by now. I mean, the system's been ready for a minute. Um, the best comparison that you could do with the Switch 1, and you were talking, Barrett, about how that was even underpowered. The Switch 1 is the same hardware that is in the NVIDIA Shield, and the NVIDIA Shield launched at $200, which is still the price of it. $100 less. Now you can say, well, maybe they're paying $100 for the Nintendo Premium, the Nintendo operating system, and the ability to play Nintendo software. $100 premium? So I kind of see where you're coming from on that, Barrett. But yeah, well, I mean, there's a screen on the Switch, and there's no screen on the Nvidia Shield, so maybe that's part of the price. But still, the point is, like, the comparable hardware on the Nvidia, they haven't done a Shield 2 yet, but I feel a Shield 2 will be coming out, and it's going to be the hardware of a Nintendo Switch 2, just without the gaming in it. But
Go ahead.
what?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to mention you said this. It's Nintendo's every other console's an issue, but I want to go back and actually change that. I want to say every other console is a copy of the previous console. It's an upgrade to the previous console, and that's why it fails. When you've got the Wii that goes to the Wii U, it just feels like another Wii basically. Um, the Switch 2 is going to feel like another Switch, and that's what's going to kind of. I have a feeling it's probably going to tank it, being that the Switch was, yes, I believe it is now the greatest selling console of all time. So it's like they do. they do this little nudge in the next system, and then they do something different, and then because they realize that nudge didn't work, and they're probably going to run into the same situation with this, where they're going to realize that nudge isn't working for Switch 2, and they're going to go back to the drawing board for the next system, and we're going to get something different.
And it makes you think, like, what's gonna be next. And I just had this idea because, like, I got these X-Real glasses and, I don't use them too often, but when I do use them, I'm happy with them. I wish I wish they didn't cost $500, but, for what I get out of it, I'm happy with it. I wonder if that's gonna be the next thing Nintendo's gonna do. Is maybe have it where, like, you wear glasses and you hold a controller in your hand, and that's, like, the new thing. Like, they're gonna maybe try the VR thing. Like, what are they gonna do next is the point. Because you're right. When they copy themselves, they don't do it right. But when they come out with something new, all of a sudden it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's the new that's gonna work? Will it be Nintendo VR glasses maybe? Or will it be, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, are we just done with consoles?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, your phone's more powerful than half the shit that they came out with. So, sorry, Barrett, we keep talking over you, buddy.
No, I would have said the same thing.
Okay.
well,
So,
what's gonna be interesting is when we get to the next series of consoles, we'll find out if consoles are over, which is kind of, I think, what we do every single time there's a new series of consoles is like, is this the end of consoles at this point? Because, PC is getting more powerful. We've got these other devices like
well,
Steam.
I sent you that link for Mortal Kombat. They're doing another Mortal Kombat collection.
Mhm,
Um, they didn't even mention that it's coming out for Xbox.
mhm,
It is, but I had to dig to find that out
yeah.
because it was all over about how it's on PlayStation, and I'm like, yes, because to me, it really looks like that Microsoft has given up on hardware.
Yeah, I think what Microsoft is trying to get out of the console business and
Yeah.
go back to being like software, which is kind of writing on the wall right there for consoles. Do they know something?
Well, I think Sony might know something as well, but the thing is, their video game division is their only successful division right now, and also like PlayStation has become nomenclature where it's like how we used to when we were kids. My grandparents used to go and say, "Hey, no playing Nintendo." Wasn't playing video games; it was Nintendo. Now it's PlayStation. Don't play the PlayStation. Well, mom, it's an Xbox. Whatever. Don't play with your PlayStation. It's like whatever it is, it's always a PlayStation. Or back when it used to be everything was an Atari, everything was a Nintendo. Now everything's a PlayStation.
Mhm.
So that's probably and that is a part of its success. Like if grandma's gonna go out and buy Junior a new game console, she's like, "Well, I know the PlayStation name, I've heard of it, so I'll get him that." I'll buy him a PlayStation 4 even though he wanted a 5, but it costs $100 more, I don't wanna spend. But that is our dumping of the Switch unless somebody's got more to add.
No, not really.
I'm watching fireworks in Los Angeles right now, so it's happening on the street.
Mhm. So with that, you're gonna have to put the fireworks away because we've got a movie to review.
We're gonna turn it up to 11.
We are, and I hope you have the Wikipedia or whatever it is you read up for the story for this one.
I will in a second.
Why don't we let Barrett go first on this one?
Okay. I gotta just find my write-up on it. I have it right here. You guys ready?
We are ready. Go for it, Ben.
This is Spinal Tap is a 1984 American mockumentary film directed by Rob Reiner in his directorial debut. The film satirizes the behavior and musical pretenses of a rock band through a fictional British. Okay, I'm screwing this whole thing up. Let me try it from the top again. I didn't rehearse. Okay, this is the first time. This is Spinal Tap is a 1984 American mockumentary film directed by Rob Reiner in his directorial debut. I keep wanting to say dictatorial, like he's a dictator.
What have you watched before you came here, Ben? Or wait, actually, I don't think I want to know.
This film satirizes the behavior and musical pretenses of rock bands through a fictional British heavy metal group called Spinal Tap, starring Michael McKean as David St. Hubbins, Christopher Guest as Nigel Tufnell, and Harry Shearer as Derek Smalls. The film follows the band on a disastrous American tour to promote their latest album, Smell the Glove. Presented as a documentary by filmmaker Marty DeBerge, played by Rob Reiner, the film features improvised dialogue and absurd situations such as malfunctioning stage props, frequent drummer deaths, and the infamous these go to 11 amplifier scene. Though it received a modest box office response, this Spinal Tap gained cult status and is widely regarded as one of the greatest comedy films ever made, influencing both the mockumentary genre and real-world rock bands. Sorry, I blew through that whole thing. Jesus, man. Sometimes I rehearse it, and I didn't rehearse it tonight. So sorry.
That's okay. I don't think they rehearsed when they went up either. But go ahead, Barrett.
Oh man, so I love this movie. It's hilarious and it feels very real. So it's one of those like really I think it's perfect for a mockumentary because it's so subtle. Like if you didn't know about music, and especially about like bands and whatnot and what it's like the behind the scenes, you could almost miss the fact that it's a mockumentary.
Hmm.
And in fact, I know like I've had elderly family members who would come in the room and what I was watching one time when I was visiting my folks. And they thought it was a real thing, and they're like, "I've never heard of this band," and I was like, "Yeah, there's a good reason for that." Uh, and also it helps that this is my favorite genre of music, so I listen to a lot of the bands that they're lampooning, and
Mm. Is that it?
oh yeah,
Okay. Am I next?
Ben, go ahead.
This movie was great. I've seen this movie mocked or copied, I should say, so many times in other mediums. There's actually a thing now I'm gonna have to go find this, from WCW, Chris Jericho trying to find his way to the ring, and they're just mimicking the entire scene from, Spinal Tap. And except they don't do a very good job. The Spinal Tap scene was awesome. I loved how they go and they're talking to the security guard, and he's giving them directions, and then they go around again, and all of a sudden they're right back at the security guard. That was great. My favorite scene in the whole movie is gotta be when they had that little Stonehenge, and they had the dwarves running around the Stonehenge. Because it just in the one of the characters, the lead singer, I forget, McKean's character, he in the very next scene, he's explaining why I thought it was hilarious. He's like, "In the midgets, it just overemphasized how small the Stonehenge was." I'm like, "Yes, that's why it was funny. But that's so why it was funny." I laughed so hard at so many different parts of this movie. What's that?
I think the line was something along. The Stonehenge was in danger of being crushed by
But
dwarfs or something.
that's what it was. It was getting endangered of getting crushed by dwarves, and I'm like, "Yes," and that is why that scene was hilarious, because it literally looked like they were giants compared to this thing. That and then also, like, the part where Harry Shearer character, the bass player, where he couldn't get out of, the pod he was in. And the whole time, they have that stagehand, and he's trying all these different ways of opening the pot. I'm like, "Is he the only person who's a stagehand there? You can't find another guy? You get on one side, I get on the other, and we yank this thing open?" It's like it's just he's got a blowtorch at one point. I'm like, "What are you doing? You were like, this is not how I would tackle this problem." This was just a great film. I could see why I've seen it, copied so many times, referenced so many times. It was my first time actually seeing the movie. There's a lot of movies that I know are good that I don't watch purposely so that I have good movies to watch down the road, and this was one of them. So thank you, Mike. I no longer have this on my list to do. Damn it.
Got it.
But thank you for recommending this movie. I bought it on Blu-ray. I'm glad I have it on Blu-ray. This is a movie I'm going to watch again. Definitely going to watch this again. Probably a few times. I love the only part with this thing that they have in the Jim Cornette show is oh, I was watching the wrestling show last night. I hate that they interrupted all the talking parts with that pesky wrestling. I was feeling like that with the movie. I hated it when they interrupted the jokes for that pesky music. I'm like, oh, not another song. But then they would have a thing where something would blow up on stage. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, we can do the song. And the songs were good, but I think to me it kind of just I was more into like all the ad libbing, and they would make the stories up about how the drummers were dying, and each time it was more extreme than the last time. Also, the fact that here's something that I noticed in the movie watching it when they were doing the launch of their U.S. tour, the party they were having versus the party they were having to close the tour.
Mhm.
They closed the tour. There were two old ladies who weren't even part of the party were at the party.
Mhm.
Where in the first one, they had Frank Drescher, they had all these other people were there. The place was popping, popping. The second party at the end of the disastrous U.S. tour, because everything that could go wrong, including stuff that would never go wrong in real life, went wrong in this situation, and they had nobody there. It was like there was like 10 people. Like I said, the party had people who weren't part of the party in the party because
Mm.
nobody would come.
Yep.
And it's just but then all of a sudden, like, as soon as they left the US, everything went back to everything was great again. They had the other lead guitars came back. There was 2 lead guitars, or, the other lead guitars comes back, and everything's back to normal, except for the fact that the drummer died again.
Sure.
It was like the 4th or 5th drummer. They went through, like, a ton of them, yeah. Now, I saw something 2 things. Um, First of all, there's supposed to be a sequel to the movie coming out this year. So it's kind of timely that this movie came up, in which they're gonna be doing it's supposed to be a reunion of the original cast, or at least who's still alive. I don't know who's dead or not, because it has been a while. But they're gonna be doing a reunion in which they're gonna be doing one last Spinal Tap tour, is the idea. They're gonna do their retirement tour, and there's gonna be another mockumentary covering that. Um, and then Harry Shearer's in this. Now, do you know who Harry Shearer is?
I don't.
Harry Shearer, you might not recognize the face, but if you listen to him in the Spinal Tap movie, you might pick up that he sounds a lot like Principal Seymour Skinner, but with a British accent.
Mm. Okay.
He is one of the base 4 voice actors for The Simpsons. He plays Mr. Burns, Waylon Spinners, Ned Flanders, Seymour Skinner, and several others, including Dr. Hibbert and Reverend Lovejoy. So, I was like, I didn't know, like, all I knew was his character's name, that he was in the movie, and I'm trying to figure out who it is, and just going by their voice and what the guy, because I kind of know what Harry Shearer looks like. So just kind of like what they look like and what the voice is. And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I could hear a little bit of Seymour Skinner with a slight, with the British accent. I also could tell that he was putting in the accent on, where everybody else in the movie who was British might have actually have been British, but I could tell that he was putting his accent on.
So just to let you know, since you mentioned, because I didn't know this, was Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, which if you look at the logo for it, they actually use Stonehenge as the number 2. Uh, it's the release date scheduled for September 12th of this year.
Now, another thing was I remember seeing some video at some point where it might have been The Simpsons making fun of, I forget what it was, but it was
Mm.
Spinal Tap related, where every member of the band was playing bass.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about that when I talk about it. So
Did I miss that in the movie?
yes, you did.
I did miss it in the movie. Okay, because yeah, yeah, okay, I missed parts of that. I'm watching the movie, but I'm also doing something on the computer. That's how I always do it. But all right, I am ready to hand the mic over to you, Mike.
Okay, so you said this movie was great. I'm actually gonna say this movie is magnificent. This is near close to a perfect movie. And this movie does some really good things with being subtle. So like there's levels to this movie that you can be at a certain level and not get some of the jokes, but you get enough that you still have a good time with it. And you mentioned, Ben, when you just mentioned that, you nailed it kind of on one of the biggest scenes is the best example of this is when they do the song Big Bottom, which the first level of the joke is, haha, the song's called Big Bottom. It's got funny lyrics. But the next level, when you get to an intermediate level of the joke, is that yes, they're all playing bass on the song. They're all playing the bass line. So, and you never really see that happen. But then that brings the third part of the joke, which is being more of like the musician here, is that you realize that the song's called Big Bottom. The bass is known as the bottom end of a song. So the title then goes back to what they're all doing. They're
Oh.
big bottom,
Yeah, yeah.
length of the bottom line of it. So there's things you're not going to pick up unless you know a lot, but there's things that you don't have to pick up to enjoy it and love it. Uh,
Mm.
and everyone knows the whole goes to 11 part so well. But that whole scene where that happens, I think that's the weaker of the three real jokes that go on in that scene because there's two others. One is where he's talking about the sustain on the guitar and he says, listen to the ha and the other guy saying, well, I don't hear anything. And then the joke is, what you would if I was playing it. And I think
Oh, yeah, 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 because the wood's supposed to make noise. I remember that one. That was funny.
the other one is there's the tag still on the guitar and how, don't look at it, don't even touch it, don't do anything. And I think those two are much better jokes towards like being a musician and being a collector.
Mm.
The 11 joke. And I mean, you saw when you were here that on my pipa, I still had the tag on it. And it's because when I got it, I didn't play it much. I just kind of put it in my closet. And now that I brought it back out and I've tuned it up and I'm playing it, I don't want to take the tag off. And the reason is because it reminds me of that scene so well. And it's such a wonderful scene. Uh, and you gotta look and catch all the things that this has done for the music industry. Like if you take Metallica, their whole Black album is mimicked off of the album in this one. And they've mentioned that they made it because of Spinal Tap. They made it that way.
Okay, so I noticed that they mentioned the album over and over and over again, including talking about how the album cover is so nasty that they were refusing to sell it. They never show the album cover. There's also there's no nudity in this, where there were plenty of scenes that made me think, "Oh, wow, are they gonna have, like, women whipping their tops off?" Because that's a normal thing in concert. It was supposed to be around the time that this was made, and they don't do that either. So that was, like, some which were good, but, but still, I thought that was, like, an interesting move with, like, I thought they could have go for the realism. You know what I mean? Like, if it happens, it happens. Like, if it's in the game, it's in the game. Um
Were you just listening when they actually mentioned that the album arrived, or did you actually look at it?
Well, it came in a black with a black cover over it.
It was all black, everything black. It didn't even have their name on it.
But that's the thing is that wasn't that the cover up what the actual cover was? That's what I was understanding. Like how like when they did In Through the Outdoor for Led Zeppelin, that used to come in a paper bag.
Mhm. No, they weren't covering the label. They wiped the label the design completely away. They basically censored the whole thing.
Oh, I thought like they were doing it where they were just putting like a covering over the actual cover of the album because like I said, if that's been done before, it's not unheard of. I thought that was a parody on Led Zeppelin, and I think, "Oh, that's a cool parody on Led Zeppelin." I like, not many people know about that album and the issue they had with it, but okay, that's different than
Yeah, if you there's a point where it's supposed to be so extreme They said you can't have anything on it, basically. And that was the whole joke in the end there. And that's what influenced Metallica to do what they did on their Black Album.
I thought Metallica was influenced by the White Album from the Beatles.
Could be both. I've heard there's
Hmm.
Spinal Tap one.
Yeah. I never heard either way. I just assumed because the White Album was so big that, okay, well, that's what all these colored albums are all based off the White Album.
So, and then also another scene that I wanted to bring up that's really easy to miss, but is really genius, is the part where Nigel is playing guitar and he has another guitar on stage. He has another guitar next to him. He starts kicking the strings with his foot.
Oh, that was that horrible guitar solo?
Yeah, but then he picks up a violin and he rubs the violin against the guitar. But what he does is he pulls the violin away, tunes one of the strings on the violin, and then rubs it back up against the guitar, which would do absolutely nothing.
I know.
But that's the joke, that if you blink, you miss that one. And it's just so well put in there.
Yeah, no, there was like a lot of the humor is just them being stupid, which was
Yeah.
but it was so funny. Like they go and they meet they meet what's his character's name from WKRP?
Uh,
Johnny Cool or some shit from WKRP. He's like the guy's manager, and they're talking to this other celebrity, and the other guy won't give him the time of day. And I just love when he goes and says, "Well, we'd love to sit around and chat, but we gotta go wait for our limo downstairs."
yeah.
It's like instead of us doing something that involves you, we'd rather go sit alone.
Mhm. So that's all I had to say. And other than that, I would definitely give this thumbs up. Absolute 100%. This is a must-see film.
Yes. I was very, very happy. I knew the movie was gonna be good, but I didn't expect it. Like, I was, like, laughing my ass off through the whole film. It was just great. It's just like yeah, and, like, okay, and I miss yeah, like, people you miss certain jokes, is why I wanna watch it again, 'cause I know I missed parts. But, like, there's, like, stuff that, I thought they were referencing, like I said, the Led Zeppelin album, and no, it wasn't. They were actually Painted in Black, like, so that's why I do gotta watch it again, but, like, it's so good. It really is. It's such a good movie, like and also the credits. They don't even stop during the credits. The credits, they just keep going with, like, more stuff,
Yeah.
and it makes you wanna sit there, and I'm like, imagine watching this at the theater, and all of a sudden, like, you're just not leaving. Like, that didn't happen too often.
Mhm. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a movie called This Is Anvil, which is the real life band that ended up like Spinal Tap, where this is the band that came out around the times like Metallica, when Metallica started and when Anthrax started, that they never took off. And they do end up with a Japanese concert at the end. So it's literally Spinal Tap, the real story.
Mm. Spinal Tap, the real story. Rated R.
Barrett, I think we're gonna say thumbs up for you, but are we wrong?
Oh, what?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So that's a definite 3 yes for that.
Yes. Definite American classic about a British band.
So does anyone else have anything they want to add?
Nope.
I think we've turned this one up to 11.
All right, perfect. So now we're gonna move on to the main topic,
But what Mike, what if we just made 10 a little louder?
but this goes to 11.
Yeah, but what if we just made 10 just go louder, though?
I'm not answering that anymore, Ben. So, so topic time. Our topic tonight are bands that have one legendary album, and the rest, yeah, it's either not good, it's garbage, or you can't dig it, or it's just something you don't want to listen to.
Hmm.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and start out with the topic, or I'm sorry, the one that is higher at the top. And I'm gonna say that the most of those albums I'm gonna do, if not all of them, way back when we did our top albums, the perfect album episodes, these were all contenders for that perfect album episodes. So and this is the only album I can actually listen to by this group. It's a freaking masterpiece. And you guys probably heard it. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And that would be this one right here.
I see it.
Time by Queensryche.
I don't see your screen.
You can't see my screen. Can you see my screen, Barrett?
Yep. But I hear an echo from you.
I'm hearing an echo too.
I don't hear an echo, and I don't see your screen, so maybe they're both connected.
Okay. Well, it looks like it should be up because if we're both,
If Barrett's seeing it, I'm assuming the recording's gonna get it.
you should.
Yeah.
So this is such a good album. This is one of those where I think there's only like one song now that feels like it's dated, but the rest of it is just pure energy and just some of the greatest guitar parts. And sections where the bass is just spot on. It's just everything else. I got into this shortly after it came out, and that was the first time I ever really heard Queensryche was this album. And it became one of those I was listening to just over and over and over again, at least like if not every day, every other day type of thing. And I couldn't get into anything else they did. The next one, Empire, was just a letdown completely for me. But I still to this day listen to this album and absolutely love it. So this is one that I would say if you haven't heard this album, it's one of those concept albums. So you don't want to listen to it shuffled. You want to listen to it from the very first track to the end each time. But if you haven't heard it, you're going to want to hear it.
Cool.
Either of you this one?
I don't think I've ever listened. I mean, if I listened to Queensryche, I couldn't pick it out of a crowd type of thing. Like I probably heard them, but I don't know that I've heard them.
Mm.
Barrett?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm somewhat familiar, and I've heard some of the songs from that album, but I've never sat and listened to the whole way through.
Mhm. It's definitely worth it.
All right.
Cool.
And you can always get on Spotify.
Yeah.
All right, who wants to go next?
Barrett?
Sure. All right, I'll go. Share screen. Do-do-do.
Yeah, I'm looking for a picture to use. So
Oh, why is it not show us? Hmm.
what what did what's going on?
Hmm. Yeah, the share screen thing is working, but it won't share the particular thing. It all shows is the browser. So here, let me try to just bring it up in the browser then.
Yeah, we're still learning the software. I've only been using it for like a month, so it's it's okay that we don't have it down yet, but we're working on it, folks. Ever since Skype disappeared.
This has got less bugs than Switch 2.
At least, yeah,
And then
yeah, a more stable code than Twitch 2 does, at least.
so if you're having still issues, once you mention it, I'll go search for it if necessary.
Oh, jeez. All right. Hmm.
Had to use the cough button.
You would like coffee?
I said I had to use the cough button. I was coughing.
Oh, I think you said something about hot coffee.
No, we're not talking about Grand Theft Auto right now. Anybody get that? Did you get what I did there? Hmm?
But I think I set you up for that. So I did. I was right there with you, Ben.
Yeah.
Hey, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're this time.
Alright, good.
Here we are.
Alright.
So,
I don't have
Wait.
yours either. I'm gonna restart my screen. I hope it doesn't screw up the recording. I'm gonna refresh my screen.
All right. So the album I want to talk about is Cryptic Writings from Megadeth. So some necessary background. Most people probably heard of Megadeth, right? What they might not know is that Megadeth really should go by a different name, which is the Dave Mustaine Project.
Hmm.
Because for most of its history, it's just basically been a vanity project for Dave Mustaine, the singer and lead guitarist.
Hmm.
And that's fine. I mean, that's sure. But the thing is, he has admitted as much as what I'm about to say, right? Like he's admitted this many times in interviews that he's not really trying to make amazing songs. What he's trying to do is to find ways to push himself and to show off his virtuosic guitar playing. What that results in is that usually most of the albums and most of the songs on the albums are just these kind of like seemingly random collections of riffs that don't really gel together to make like, proper cohesive song or like a cohesive feel to an album or whatnot. He also just never learned how to sing. And so most of their albums are, I mean, I'm not gonna say they're like a 1 out of 10, but they're not great. Like they definitely need work. And he would admit the same. Like he's even said the same in interviews, right? Like that's just not what he's trying to do. But for whatever weird reason, at the same time that Metallica had its sort of sound change and they released the Load album, then Dave Mustaine's like, well, hey, I could do that too. And so for whatever reason, he decided to actually let his bandmates contribute for once. And then wouldn't you know it, they actually like had some things to contribute to bring to it. And they kept Dave in check. And so suddenly you get one album where it's actually cohesive. It all sounds like a holistic piece. And the songs are actually well constructed and aren't just a mess. And Dave even tried to sing. Now he failed. It's not great, but he tried to sing for the one and only time in his life on this album. And so this is the one album that I like that I think I could honestly recommend to someone with a straight face, but I would not recommend any of their other albums.
I was reloading and I missed the name of the album.
Oh, is it not on the screen?
I don't see that anyway, but it's not happening.
Okay. Cryptic Writing.
Oh, Cryptic Writings. Okay, because I used to be a pretty big Megadeth fan.
Oh yeah.
And so I had like Cryptic Writings, Countdown to Extinction, Peace Sells, but Who's Buying? Um, it is always struck me, and now I only have their greatest hits album because they're one of those bands where it struck me like they only have like one or two good songs per album. They don't really have one that's like, all killer, no filler. Uh, but Cryptic Writings was really good though. And I didn't know that was one where he actually did stuff where he let the other band members play. I thought there was just, yeah, okay. That explains why the album is as good as it is. I still like the bass riff of do 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 from B Cells. It's the best. Um, they were one of the best concerts I ever went to, and only because I remember a part of it so distinctly. It was when I've said this story before. Where it was back when these laser light pens were popular,
Ah.
and they were shooting them at the band, and they were getting him in the face. So finally, he stops in the middle of the song, and he has security like throw the guy out. And I just always remember that. It was like one of the coolest moments I've ever seen at a live show. He's like, "Oh, he ruined the show." Like, no, man, that made the show for me because he was pissed. He's one of those people like they're fun to watch when they're pissed as long as they're not mad at you. So, and I'm just having a ball just watching this guy get thrown out. I was like in the 6th row or the 5th row or something. I had really good seats, so I was right up there. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the best concerts I ever been to, and that was over at the Meadows here in Connecticut. They don't call it the Meadows, and now it's like the Xfinity Music Theater or some shit.
Yeah.
Um, everything's named after a brand. But yeah, I do see where you're coming from on Megadeth though. Like, you remember this guy used to be the original guitarist for Metallica. He got thrown out because of alcohol problems,
Yeah.
which is funny because James Hetfield, from what I understand, is now getting help for his alcohol problems. I do know that they did settle, that they did bury the hatchet. They are friends now. They did
Yeah.
they did a concert. They did a really cool concert. They did to celebrate Metallica's like somethingth anniversary, probably their 30th anniversary. Maybe yeah, I think it's 30th or maybe coming on the 40th, whatever. For one of their anniversaries, they did a show down at that club in Los Angeles that everybody plays when they first start.
Yeah.
That shitty club, I forget the name of it. They it's just shitty because I don't like clubs. They went down there, they did a show, and at the show, they did a song with Dave Mustaine. Well, actually, I think they did the Four Horsemen or something like that, but they did it with Dave Mustaine, and then they also brought back, Jason Newsted, and they did a song with him. So, that's you if you're on YouTube already watching us, we're gonna be wrapping up in about 10, 15 minutes. Once we wrap up, go look for that video. It's a good video. It's a pretty cool video to watch.
Yeah.
Okay,
10 to 15 minutes, huh, Ben?
well, maybe longer. I don't know.
You know, Barry, you kind of nailed something with Megadeth for me that I couldn't get into was the fact that his singing. And I didn't realize that I guess he didn't think he was a good singer because that was always a problem for me. And I wonder how different music would be if he did stay in Metallica and then Megadeth never existed
Mm.
because of both
Well,
they are.
it makes you wonder if Megadeth influenced Metallica in any way.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
they're feeding off each other.
yeah, like, would they have still, have did the drums the way they did for Load if Megadeth didn't exist? I remember when okay, I pretended to be sick from school when Load came out, or this might have been Reload. One of the Load albums was coming out. Yeah, I think it would Load. But I was, like, such a big Metallica fan. Like, I used to go to this place called Phoenix Record Shop in Waterbury, which is one of the cities nearby, and, I would buy their bootlegs. They would have all the concert bootlegs, and I was just, like, looking for Metallica and Van Halen, and I would buy, like, all the Metallica and Van Halen shit that I could find, and I'm there and I'm like, "The new album's coming out from Metallica. Are you guys taking reservations?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna reserve it here." And I reserved it, and I was 17, so I had a driver's license, I had a car. That it was good, I'm not gonna go into the history of the car, but I had a car. So I pretended I was sick so I could stay home from school the day the album comes out.
Mhm.
I race to the record store. On the way, I've hit a patch of sand that sends my car railing into somebody's front yard.
Ooh.
I just drive around their front yard, drive right back out onto the road, and just continue going. I go down to the record store, I pick up that record, I got the tape adapter and the little Sony Discman in the car, and I stick it in there, and I hit play, and I hear that tick drum sound, and I'm like, what is this?" So I almost kill myself on the way there. Well, first, I lie to get the opportunity to do this, and then I almost die on the way there, and then I buy this shitty it wasn't a shitty album, but, like, that drum just killed me,
Mhm.
and it was what album was that? That was Saint Anger I'm thinking about. I'm sorry. Somebody's yelling at their radio saying, "I don't know what the hell I'm talking about." I'm an old man. My memories get mixed. It was Saint Anger. But still, like, imagine you go through all that, and you buy this album, which means I'm getting the year wrong too. I did do it for load. What the hell did I buy Say Anger that then? Oh, I was in a car. I was teaching driving when that album came out. And it was the same reaction. I bought the album on the way home. I stick it in the CD player at the work car. So I have something to listen to on my way back. And I got to listen to this horrible drum sound. So I do have two Metallica, but yeah, the other one was true. I was going for load. I was conflating the albums. But yeah, that's my story with load. Sorry to go off on this tangent. I'm remembering stuff, and it just sometimes stuff gets mixed together. It was two Metallica stories that I could find. Okay, I went to go watch them live. I've seen them live twice. Um, they started doing an acoustic set. Me and half the audience got up and left.
Was that bad?
Dude, if you're gonna play acoustic guitar, you better not fucking play guitar. Okay, I could fake electric. But to play an acoustic, where you need to have some real I would sit there and watch Clapton do an acoustic set. But like Metallica, they're like 3 songs into this acoustic set. And I'm like, the fuck is it? I gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm just gonna leave.
Mm.
And I left in the middle of the show. I mean, I'm like, this isn't good. It was like their second encore. Because they're one of those bands where they just do encore on top of, it's their set breaks. So they're doing a set break. They just act like they're going home, and then they come back out and they do another 20 minutes. But yeah, that was a bunch of Metallica stories. Is Metallica on anybody's list?
No, of course not.
No. No, because for me, I can't listen to any of their albums. So there you go.
And now it's my turn, huh?
Yes.
Oh, I get to keep talking. You lucky guys. All right, so let me share my screen, and hopefully this will work for me. Allow to share window, and then we're gonna go over here, and I'm gonna share this window. Do you see it?
Yes.
You see the Wikipedia? See, now I see my thing. Okay,
Mhm.
it's weird. Well, here it is. The debut album for Boston. The debut album for Boston is a very solid album. Let's see if we could find the track listing somewhere on here. Here's the track listing. More Than the Feeling, Peace of Mind, Foreplay, Long Time. These are all great smoking. So they're great songs. It's a pretty solid album, right? Then they release Don't Look Back. Guess what the good song on Don't Look Back is? Don't Look
The-
Back.
Silence at the end. Oh,
No, no, actually is a good song on here. Don't Look Back is the one good song. And then you get to their third album. Where this one, what's the good Amanda. Amanda's a decent song. But still, now I'm saying decent instead of good. You see where I'm going here?
yeah, they're going down basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Boston, you could buy their first album and you pretty much got most of the what you want from them. And I'll shorten this one up because I went off on Metallica.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, let me unshare.
All right, for me, second round time. This is a group that I talked about recently, actually, when we talked about the copy and paste episode. I'm just going to mention who it is. That was The Offspring, if you're going to be talking about it. So, being that's The Offspring, most people are going to think, oh, it's probably, what was the big one? Smash, I think it was, or that one with the white guy song on it. Yeah, it's neither of them. Is this album right here. And I don't know, I'm hearing the echo now.
You know what I think it is? I think I can't see it because we have 3 people in the chat and there's some kind of bug. But I'm using Safari, but if I was on Chrome, I'd have no problems.
Yeah, could be. So anyway, this album is phenomenal. Apart from maybe one song that's really not all that worth listening to. which if we're going by the theme of the night happens to be LAPD. But I think what makes this album so good compared to the rest of their stuff is that this is very much just raw. It's just raw and it flows so well together throughout the whole album. It's not a long album, so it's one I definitely recommend listening to, even if you're not an Offspring fan. Because it's actually surprisingly good, catchy at the same time. That's really all I really need to say about that one. So maybe we will be able to do this in 10 to 15 minutes the way we're going. And now, does anyone, Barrett, you there?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to get the. Here we go. All right.
Did we lose Ben?
I'm sorry, I hit the mute button and I forgot to help.
All right. So here's my next one. This is Maroon 5, their debut album, or I guess their first big album. I think they had like a small indie thing, an EP or something, but this is their first LP, I think. And it's called Songs About Jane. And this one is the only one I'd recommend because this is the only one where there's still like an actual band and they're like trying to play music. And it was after this that they decided, oh, we're just gonna be like a pop, whatever, electronic stuff group. And that's where I think everyone knows them for now. But they actually were a band once, and they do know how to play instruments, even if they seem like they've forgotten. And this, like, people will love to hate on this because you guys might remember there's that Sunday morning song that got overplayed, and that's from this album.
Yeah.
And
don't worry.
so people love to hate it, and and I get it too. Like I don't even listen to that song anymore if I do listen to this album, but it does have some real bangers on it. It has some really addictive, very like interesting songs that like with these like complex rhythms that you don't hear much anymore. And that was because like when they first formed, they were actually inspired by uh like 60s and 70s R&B. And so like they actually have a song on this album that is a tribute to Stevie Wonder. And that the other thing that they lost after this album is like they stopped doing any of that kind of stuff too. And it's like, well, come on. I mean, y'all were so good at that, but it's what they want to do, and it obviously made them tons of money. So I mean, who am I to argue, right? But I wouldn't recommend anything after this album.
I bought this album, and I actually like it. And that Sunday morning, I think was one of my more favorite songs before it got big. I stopped listening to them after this album. It wasn't because I didn't like this album. I did like this album. It's just it felt like a group that I didn't want to go on with. And it sounds like I probably made the right choice there.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, I'm sure you heard on the radio or you've been in like a restaurant or whatever and they played the newest stuff. And yeah, and it's just for people who like it, that's great, right? Like if all you want is like just the sugariest pop or whatever, like then yeah, their new stuff is great for that. But it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, why even have it? Why even call it Maroon 5? Because all it is it's the vocalist. We can't hear anyone in the band anymore, with their new stuff because it's all pop, right? So yeah, you definitely you dodged the bullet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't go on with them. Just for some reason, it just felt I was sitting there going, I really like their album, but something tells me I just have no desire to see where they go after that. So kind of weird to get that feeling, but I did.
Cool.
All right, Ben.
Cool. I need to do the share the screen thingy. Share a window. Get the hang of this. Candlebox.
You just got freaking fired, dude. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You are no longer the BM show. And go ahead and say what you're gonna say, and I'm going to smack you upside the head so hard.
Okay, why?
And I'm serious.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Whatever you
No, go ahead, Ben. No, go ahead. There's your album.
you're more fired up about this than I am. I don't care.
No, I actually want to hear what you have to say about Candlebox. I'm curious, actually.
I'm actually talking about the Gin Blossoms.
Oh, you are even more fired now because I don't like the Gin Blossoms because you just fired me up so bad. Did you do that on purpose?
Not really. I'm like, I don't really have much to say about Candlebox. I actually more to say about Gin Blossoms, but I figured I might as well throw it out there because like all I remember Candlebox really having was like what album I actually listened to. Same thing with Gin Blossoms. Gin Blossoms, their first two albums are exactly the same album. So they have the same problem that Boston does.
I'm just gonna plug this right now since I just got all that out of my system, sort of. The second album by Candlebox, Lucy, is another one that almost made the perfect album list. It just has one song that disqualified it from making that perfect album list. So yeah, I would say if you haven't heard it, Ben, then definitely get that one a go. But anyway, I'll let you do the Gin Blossoms now. Go ahead and talk about them.
I just closed the window. Well, I used to listen to them. I used to listen to their first album over and over and over again while I was playing SimCity on my Windows 95 machine. And then they came out with their second album, and I'm like, "Oh, cool." And then I bought the second album, and I'm like, "This sounds exactly like the first album." I can't actually there were times where I literally got the albums confused. I didn't know which one I was listening to. And that was my story.
That's funny because it reminds me of like my buddies when I would listen to like Green Day way back in the day. And I remember we took a drive and he looked at me, he's like, "Are we on the second song yet?" I'm like, "We were like on the Sesame."
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, I mean, Green Day, I mean, they actually have, 2 good albums, but
Yeah. Well, they got so many albums, yeah, they have two good.
yeah, 2 like, that's why they don't qualify for this because they actually have, like, 2 because they actually had, like, because first Dookie came out, and you're like, "Well, they're not gonna top Dookie." And then they came out with the one where was the one where, "Don't wanna be an American idiot," that one whatever album that's on, because that has Boulevard of Broken Dreams and just, what's the name of that album?
American Idiot?
It is American Idiot?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that was I know that was the name of the song. I don't know if that was the name of the album too. Um, but yeah, that had, like, Boulevard of Broken Dreams and all these other great, great songs on it. So I'm like, "Okay, they have 2 decent" actually, I could listen to either one of those albums all the way through
Mhm.
and not just be like, "Oh god, kill me now." They might have a track or 2 where I might wish the song would end sooner, but, uh, nothing that was horrible.
Mhm. Alright, we're doing round 3 now?
I gotta go.
Go.
Okay. Alright, thank you. Thank you, Barrett, for coming in.
Oh, you gotta go. I thought you meant, like, you gotta go now. Okay, alright.
Oh no.
Alright, take it easy.
Later, man.
Alright, so why don't we just do, one more, each of us, Ben?
Okay.
And, yeah.
As I'm watching Night Has Fallen on the city of Los Angeles.
Alright, so for my next one, what if it's one of my favorite groups of all time that I love so much and influence, which this one actually is. And chances are you probably never heard this album. It's a shame Barrett had to go because this would be something he'd probably want to check out. This album right here, White Hot Peach by Primitive Radio Gods. Most likely you don't know who Primitive Radio Gods is, but you do know who Primitive Radio Gods is because they got, or maybe I should say at the time it was just a singer, got pretty popular when their song was in, I want to say it was the Cable Guy movie. But prior to that, I was following them off their first album, and it wasn't all that great. It was one of those that I didn't know if I was going to continue with them or not. I ended up getting this album at midnight when it went on sale, the moment it went on sale at the record store. I remember driving back home, popping it in and listening to it, and I can still see the moment when I listened to the album from beginning to end the first time. And I also shared this one with Matt. We took a drive and I told him that he's got to hear this album. And I remember him listening to it as well. The most amazing part of this album is there's this transition from the very first song to the second song where it's just this like train wreck of a transition. It doesn't really connect well, but it's like right when the second song starts, like that train wreck happens, but then like the train gets wings and it just totally just like flies away. It's just it's bad, but it's so well done. It makes it just epic. And I could tell Matt listening to the first song was like, this really sucks. And the moment that hit, he was like, I saw him just like look at the radio, like, what just happened? And from then on, he was also in agreement basically that this album was just so well put together. So and this would have also made was a contender for that perfect album, except for the fact that it has that first song with that weird transition to it. But after that, he went to kind of his band went to kind of like kind of distorted, almost experimental style, and I didn't like it at all. So I kind of dropped it after that. But I still say this was one of my favorite bands of all time, just because of this album. So that's it for me. Ben? All right, so it seems that I put Ben to sleep with that one.
Hello?
Yep. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot I had the thing muted. I said that this one here is going to piss somebody off, and if it pisses you off, please leave a comment down below. But if you think about it, you're gonna know I'm right. Nirvana's Nevermind is like their only good, really good album. If you think about it, it's also the biggest hit album that they had.
Hmm.
It's the one that they're remembered for. And I know they did a bunch of other albums. I was a huge Kurt Cobain fan. I had all the records, but this is always the one you go back to. This is always the one, like, if you wanted to show Nirvana off to somebody, you go and you show them Nevermind. You don't go and show them In Utero or Blue. And Blue was a good album that had, like, the original version of Polly and a bunch of other tracks. But, this is still the one that you would point towards and say, "This is the one to listen to, and this is the one," like, "this is the one to remember it for." And, go ahead.
I don't remember Blue. I thought it was Bleach was their first one.
It was Bleach. I was reading the wrong thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's Bleach, sorry. Thank you for correcting me in real time so they could see somebody to comment below.
you're very welcome.
Comment would have helped the algorithm.
Sorry. So you can still post that it's Bleach. Everybody who's listening, post that, hey, Ben, it's Bleach.
Here's Bleach, their first album. I do know what I'm talking about, that Big Cheese is a good song. It's an okay album. It really is. But I'm talking about like how it's viewed in the world and in history. People are not gonna go listen to the Bleach album. They're gonna listen to Nevermind. Even though apparently they added a whole bunch of tracks to the 20th anniversary edition. But I was still collecting like I used to. I'd be like looking for this one. I'd be like, oh, there's all these extra tracks. I gotta have them all. I remember buying In Utero. I bought it over at like Costco's,
Mhm.
and I was so excited to bring it home. And the only song I liked on it was actually Serve the Servants is good. Heart Shaped Box is okay. I liked and Rate Me, I enjoyed. I liked the first side of it, I think, is one of those albums. But then again, Penny Royalty was okay too, but, like, the acoustic version is good. All Apologies, but then again, it's the acoustic version. I mean, if you wanna argue my point here, you can use their Unplugged album. But what is the Unplugged album mostly made up of? Songs from Nevermind. So it's like there is an argument against it, but then at the same time, like I had all these. I had Bleach, I had Nevermind, I had Euro, I had Incesticide.
Yeah.
I had all these albums. And I Incesticide is actually where Polly is, I think. Let me take a look here. I might be wrong on that. It is. This is the other version of Polly. I got it confused. It's not on Bleach, it's on Incesticide. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Go ahead.
I was into Nirvana for a very short time. And it was basically when In Utero came out, because when Nevermind came out, that's what I basically did for them. But I didn't really like In Utero. I didn't really like Nevermind. I did like Bleach, and I especially liked Incesticide. So
Well, let's see if I'm right here. I'm gonna count up these tracks. So, Nevermind, 4 songs from Nevermind. Nothing else is even Meat Puppets, which is not even their album. Like, it's from the band Meat Puppets 2 from Meat Puppets has more tracks than any other and it's tied with In Utero for 3, but it's still got more than Bleach.
mhm.
And here is The Man Who Stole the World. Actually, this is a really good album. I should listen to this again. This is probably their best album, actually, is Nirvana Unplugged in New York.
Mhm.
So, let me modify it a little bit. No, actually, this is a live album. I think we're talking about studio albums.
Yeah, I wouldn't really consider a live album into this.
Yeah. I mean, like, for overall, though, this is if you're gonna like, if you're looking to get into Nirvana or listen to it again, get their Unplugged album, because if you're listening to it again, you're older now. You want something a little slower, a little bit more relaxed than trying to figure out, "Is there any song? Oh, if I could figure any lyrics out." You don't wanna deal with that.
Well, are you doing Weird Al?
I was doing Weird Al. I was making fun of the song, though.
So I don't know if like as much as Nirvana did in music, I don't know if they're I don't want to say band that doesn't live on, but
Hey, and do you think they would be as well remembered if he didn't pass away in the prime of his career?
no.
You think they would have been forgotten? Like, they just would have, like, eventually played their way out?
They probably would have been forgotten.
Yeah.
And I feel like they kind of are forgotten at this point.
Do you think that the fact that Nirvana was around is the reason why Foo Fighters has become as prevalent as it you do? You think it's a direct
Yeah,
correlation?
I think if there was no Nirvana, I don't think David Grohl would have been successful in Foo Fighters. He could have ended up forming them, but I don't think it would have been as big.
Foo Fighters always strikes me like I was on a trip where we were doing a boat thing, and we were on a boat for, like, a couple hours. When I say a couple hours, we were out there for, like, 6 hours. Um, but during the end of it, like, the last hour of it, we listened to Foo Fighters, like, nonstop.
Uh-huh.
And it's, like, one of those bands like, we were talking about these movies, like, we were talking about, the Peanut Butter Falcon last week, and I said the line, like, "This feels like it should be one of your favorite movies, but it's not."
Mhm. Yeah.
Foo Fighters always strikes me as a band that I should like more than I do.
Mhm.
I think I should really like this band. I don't know why it's not my favorite band. It has they have multiple good songs that sound different. They have songs that sound different, albums that sound different. Not all the shit sounds the same. They're
Mm.
talented. The songs are good. I'd rather listen to something else. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's like, would you like to watch Peanut Butter Falcon again? Well, it's a good movie and I highly recommend it. Maybe in a couple of years I'll watch it again, but I don't really feel like watching it again right now. Spinal Tap, on the other hand, throw that sucker in.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's just they have different appeals, and there's some people who love Foo Fighters. I used to work at I did security at a college, and one of the students there, we would like you're hanging out with them. You're there together sometimes for 2 hours talking to this one kid, and we started talking about music, and he was telling me how much he loved Foo Fighters, and they were his absolute favorite band. So I asked him to make me a mixtape of them because I'm like, I know them a little bit, but what's your favorite? Why is it your favorite?
Yeah.
And he did. He made me a CD of his favorite tracks. And I'm like, okay. And like I said, like this should be I should like this band more than I do. Why don't I? There's just something there that's missing.
Yeah, with Foo Fighters, I'm kind of the same way. If to me, it's like, but it's more like it's not so much I should like this band more. It's more, why do people like this band? What am I not seeing with it? That
Well, yeah, it's almost the same thing. That's what I mean. Like all these people that absolutely love this band.
mm,
Why don't I? What am I missing that other people are seeing in this?
yeah, like another big band for me with that is System of a Down.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I missing that people are like, oh, this is one of the greatest bands of all time. I'm like, I'm not hearing it. So there's something I'm not catching that you are. So you know what? This is comment time for anyone who's still listening. If you're still listening, and you like Foo Fighters or you like System of a Down, put the what we're missing in the comments because we are actually really curious.
Yeah. Also, like, you can go and be like, "Hey, how come you said that about Nirvana? It's Kurt Cobain forever." I don't know.
Now, I do want to take a moment here because I think I have to do this. Even though you probably say I don't have to do this, Ben. I am sorry for going crazy when you put Candlebox on.
Oh,
Uh,
dude. Yeah, you were just playing it up, right?
no, I was no, I was not really playing it up.
I will admit that I don't know Candlebox too well. I only had like I think that I had like one of their CDs, but it was like towards when I was starting to like right before I started selling my CDs off,
Mm,
and because I got out of physical media. I thought I closed the wrong window. I'm sorry. Um, and then of course went back into it. Like I'm super into it now. I'm more into it than I ever was. But like
mm,
there was a time when I was like, oh, cool, I can get rid of everything and just have it all be digital. And I still do for music. And it's only because I can see, it's not about physical media. It's about me having able to use it and
mm,
editing
yeah.
has always been one of my big draws. And with music, I could order a CD on Amazon, a digital CD on Amazon, and have it digitally delivered, and it doesn't have DRM on it. As far as I know, they might be the only well, they're not the only website that sells DRM-free music, but they're the largest ones who do. Every other one, Apple, you have to use the Apple player to listen to it, even if you bought it. Spotify, even if you bought it, you have to use the Spotify player. Amazon, they want you to use their player, but you can still download it and listen to it on any damn player you want.
So, but what I want to mention here is I kind of want to let you know what landmine you stepped on and why I exploded. And
Okay.
again, I'm really sorry for exploding and cutting into what you were talking about and kind of ruining what you were talking about there because the guitarist for Candlebox is one of the two most influential guitarists in my life. And
Oh.
also the guitarist for Candlebox, studying what he played was where I finally cracked the guitar and understood how it worked. And then at that point could go from a level of where I was just imitating to where I could just knowing the knowledge I had on music overdub over stuff. And that's how I got to the point where like I'm doing all these videos where I'm playing over songs and writing my own parts and just jamming over top songs. It all goes back to Candlebox.
So let me tell you my mindset going into this.
Mhm,
If it wasn't for Eddie Van Halen,
mhm,
I never would have gotten any into music at all. But
mhm.
I wanted to be like Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Getting ready for this, I actually thought if this goes on long enough, I could actually do a split up if you consider Van Halen and Van Hagar to be two separate bands.
Mhm.
and throw a couple more albums out if I had to. And I was like, I loved Van Halen. I have all the Van Halen albums, even the ones I think suck.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm willing to say, under the Van Halen title, meaning with David Lee Roth, probably 1984 is their best album.
Mhm.
But then again, Van Halen 1 is also very good. But when you get the Van Hagar with Sammy Hagar, they have I think they have, like, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge might be their best album.
Mhm. That's the only one I know of the Van Hagar era.
Well, the 5150 is my favorite from Van Hagar, but I'm talking about, like, if you actually go into what sold best,
Uh-huh.
For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge had, that Right Now song, which was actually a pretty big hit for them, and also did really well for them financially because, Microsoft used it
Mhm.
because they couldn't use Start Me Up because the Rolling Stones wouldn't let them use it, so they used Right Now from Van Halen to advertise Windows 95.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I mean, "Start Me Up" might not be a good, song to use anyway for Windows. It's more like "Crash and Burn" would be a good song to use when
now, Windows wasn't there, bro. It was horrible. Uh, I remember like Windows 95 and then Windows 98, and Windows 98 was good, so people went to migrate to that, and then they did Windows Millennial Edition, and it was just a complete step down.
Mm.
But the nice part was the security, the DRM on the software was almost non-existent.
Mhm.
So, like, I had 1 copy of Windows 98, and I just handed it out to my friends, and we all had Windows 98.
Mhm.
I was the dipshit who bought everything. 'Cause that's what I just I like owning it. I just always have. I always liked owning whatever it is. It's like when people talk about, "Oh, I got my Fire Stick and it allows me to go and watch all these illegal movies," and I'm like, "Well, that's good for you, and I'm not gonna report on you, and I'm not gonna sit here and give you a lecture." But
So
it's
on
done.
that, let's do a plug then. So basically what you're saying is you were the, Joanna of the group.
The Joanna of the group.
Yeah.
What, did you watch the sermon already?
I did actually.
Where I'm the one financing everything? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm surprised, because usually you watch it on Monday. I didn't know you watched it already. But when you said Joanna, I'm like, is he talking about that song, Joanna, Joanna, which is the first thing I thought of when Judah said it.
No, I've got a super busy day tomorrow, so I won't have time to watch it tomorrow, so I knocked it out today.
Ah,
So,
yeah. Well, anyways, let's start wrapping this up because I think we're kind of done and we're hitting an hour and a half.
yeah, I think we're done. So these if you like the bands that were in here, don't be like me. Don't explode on somebody when they if don't explode on one of us that posted it. If you do, yeah, you can go ahead and leave in the comments, I guess. You can call us obnoxious haters if you want to. Um, but I hope that we all have our own tastes, and I hope that everyone can kind of honor that. And it doesn't mean these bands are bad. It just means that we couldn't connect with them.
Hmm. All right. And then I had,
Chills.
I had it last week. You could have it.
Candlebox.